Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to my podcast W5. Wow Woman Winning Wonderful World. Today I will podcast about a woman about whom from whatever I have came to know is that she was brilliant, brave, intellect from beginning. But since she didn't knew her destiny, she was walking on a path which led her to success. She helped her husband in creating an empire. Friends, empire is not only something of kings. Every person who starts a journey and reaches a remarkable level, I personally feel is creator of his or her empire. So such is our today's wow woman, Bhagwanti, who in spite of ups and downs, odd and even, never lost hope and showed same path to her 7 daughters also. And these Arts Deviyan are today protecting their legacy. Now today we will see how a single mom and 7 daughters made Jodhpur Mam's Spice legacy world famous. Mohanlal and Bhagwanti Vermohal founded MV Spices in Jodhpur in 70s. What started as a handful of handmade spices being sold on a bedsheet outside Mehrangarh Fort is today a world-famous spice business with 4 stores that offer over 120 products being helmed by 8 gritty women. Now let us see how all this worked. If you go to Jodhpur, Rajasthan and happen to visit MV Spices as part of your tour, you will find the store located in the clock tower area brimming with curious foreigners and tourists. Step inside and you will find a young girl selling a variety of spices which especially cater to the taste of visitors from outside India. And these girls are shadows of Bhagwanti. But it's not the spices alone that make the store stand out. There's a special story behind what makes MV Spices truly unique. As Bhagwanti, wife of late Mohanlal Vermohal, co-founder of the business, she and her daughters are the only women in the spice business in Jodhpur. Bhagwanti and her husband Mohanlal started spice business in late 1970s with Mohanlal's ambition being to sell product to foreigners and tourists. She married Mohanlal at the age of 22. Mohanlal owned a grocery shop back then, but it suffered heavy losses as many relatives and acquaintances sourced groceries from the shop on credit and never paid for it. Soon after marriage, Bhagwanti gave birth to 3 daughters in a row. The couple soon began to feel financial burden as their family grew. She convinced her husband that such losses cannot continue as they had daughters to raise and that their living expenses would only increase over the years. After months of convincing, Mohanlal agreed to shut shop and look for an alternative business. And this was the labor of love and labor for spice. Bhagwanti suggested that they should make traditional spices at home and sell them to tourists in Jodhpur. Around the time her 4th daughter was born, she began making 50-gram packets of spices at home and handed them to her husband to sell in the market. The 63-year-old Bhagwanti today adds that the business started with no significant capital in hand. Mohanlal started selling the spices at the entrance of the famous Mehrangarh Fort. He would spread a bedsheet along the street and display the spices on it. Bhagwanti, one day, a guard at the fort asked Mohanlal to meet Maharaja Gaj Singh. The king decided to dedicate a space within the fort where Mohanlal and Bhagwanti could set up shop in return for a monthly rent. And they thanked him. The shop saw increased visibility and business picked up. In 1980, the couple had enough finance to buy a shop near the clock tower at the vegetable market and named it MV Spices. Mohanlal Vermohal Spices. Tourists and foreigners appreciated the spices for their quality and taste. Their products were handmade and had no adulteration, that was the speciality, and the raw materials were of high quality. The practice of selecting quality spices continues to date. Bhagwanti says the mix of spices is tweaked every now and then considering the taste of foreigners. For example, the proportion of black pepper in garam masala is comparatively less than used for Indian taste buds. Such small changes helped foreigners accept the product. Then suddenly life has decided something different. The page were to be just opened from the book which Bhagwanti didn't knew what has been written for her, and now she was to overcome the grief. In 2004, tragedy struck when Mohanlal passed away suddenly due to a heart attack, making Bhagwanti the sole proprietor of the business, and she had to stand alone for her daughters. They had 7 daughters by then and no son. Everyone, including her in-laws, believed the shop would shut as men traditionally owned and operated the businesses. They advised her to close operations as it would become difficult to manage her children and a business. Some relatives suggested she should hand over the affairs in return for monthly rent. But she refused all such offers and decided to continue the business by herself. A strong decision she took. Mohanlal and she would toil from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. to establish the business. It was her husband's dream which she was supposed to complete and keep the dream live. And she needed to earn money to raise her daughters. There was no way she was going to give up on it. But as bias reared its ugly head, Bhagwanti found that standing up for her beliefs at home was much easier than what was waiting for her outside in society. She was the only woman in the business, and competitors started spreading rumors and misinformation about her. They threatened her and even misguided tourists. Many of them named their shops starting with the letter M to confuse customers. They tried to tear her down just because she was a woman. However, not one to back down, she asked her 4 elder daughters to manage the shop near the clock tower, and she took charge of the business at the fort. Today, the family owns 4 shops that offer over 120 plus products such as vegetable masala, curry masala, tea masala, herbal masala, chicken masala, and so on. The handmade spices have made a mark across the globe. 95% of MV Spices products are sold to foreigners and are exported. The shops are managed by 7 daughters named Usha, Poonam, Neelam, Nikki, Kavita, Rutu, and Priya. Neelam, manager of the business, says the aggressive gender bias has not reduced over the time. The men in the area did not want them in the market then, and the situation has not changed much since today also. Their world turned upside down overnight after their father's death. They were in shock at his sudden demise, but her mother dealt with the loss and remained strong-headed to continue the business. She says proudly. She says her vision and belief in herself make all the 7 daughters very proud. Neelam says that before their father passed away, the daughters had never been involved in the business. They didn't knew about spices and how to run a business. But they started taking responsibilities to help their mother and worked as they were instructed. And they created a relation of trust for the customers. She says that taking charge of the business made her know more about her father. Her father was always busy and they were engrossed in academics and personal lives. They didn't have much time to bond, but managing the shop helped her understand the father better. She says, adding that old customers often visit the shop to meet Mohanlal and miss his presence when they find out that he is no more. Recalling an incident, Neelam says once a lady from United Kingdom visited the shop and narrated an experience about her previous visit. Her father was about to have lunch when she arrived. He offered her and other tourists his lunchbox and shared food. The lady admitted that she was hungry and was moved by his gesture. On other occasions, Mohanlal rode her to a local food joint to give her an experience of authentic street food. She adds, Such stories of her father's kindness and his strong bond with customers show how dedicated, committed, and passionate he was towards his business. Many of the tourists from UK, US, they are visiting their spice shop as the part of the city tour. Initially, the shop seems average, but the experience they get are amazing. These girls explain them the spices and how they are to be used in cooking to add taste and flavor to the dishes. They even guide them with recipes and cooking instructions via email. Meanwhile, Neelam says that their store offers something different to foreign visitors. Foreign visitors appreciate that these girls take them time out to interact with them, tell them about the spices in detail, and they speak in English. They are also more comfortable with them because they are women. They always send the courier of spices on credit to foreign countries and ask for payment only after delivery. On one hand, where we have Udhari Band, these girls are really creating history and taking the tradition of their fathers, and they will take it long way. If the product fail to reach, they don't charge them. It is what their father practiced, and they continue the same. Such trust and belief has helped them retain customers for years. Neelam says their business continues to use word of mouth to promote itself, and the family has not resorted to digital media marketing or other advertising business. Their business has thrived solely by the traditional means. Even when they travel abroad or to other parts of India, they carry packets of spices and try to promote them. Meanwhile, Bhagwanti is confident that her daughters will take the business to new height. They know the hard work that has been put in for years and know the business dynamics. Bhagwanti is very sure the shops are in safe hand of her 7 daughters. So here we come to the end of a really victorious and marvelous podcast about Bhagwanti. Meet you tomorrow with next wow woman. Till then, keep smiling, be happy. Bye-bye.